Oh, hello there. I'm Bilchan.
I'm Nimikung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chapter 5, Section 1 of A Tale of Two Cities, Book the First Recalled to Life.
As.
Ah.
A Tale of Two Cities, Book the First Recalled to Life. Charles Dickens. Chapter 5, Section 1. A large cask of wine had been dropped and broken. In the street. The accident had happened in getting it out of a cart. The cask had tumbled out with a run. The hoops had burst, and it lay on the stones just outside the door of the wine shop, shuttered like a walnut shell. All the people within reach had suspended their business, or their idleness, to run to the spot and drink the wine. The rough, irregular stones of the street, pointing every way, and designed, one might have thought, expressly to lame all living creatures that approached them, had dammed it into little pools. These were surrounded, each by its own jostling group or crowd, according to its size. Some men kneeled down, made scoops of their two hands joined, and sit, or tried to help women, who bent over their shoulders, to sit, before the wine had all run out between their fingers. Others, men and women, dipped in the puddles with little mugs of mutilated earthenware, or even with handkerchiefs from women's heads, which were squeezed dry into infants' mouths. Others made small mud embankments to stem the wine as it ran. Others, directed by lookers on up at high windows, darted here and there to cut off little streams of wine that started away in new directions. Others devoted themselves to the sodden and dyed pieces of the cask, the thin and even championed the moisture wine-rotted fragments with eager relish. There was no drainage to carry off the wine, and not only did it all get taken up, but so much got taken up along with it, that there might have been a scavenger in the street, if anybody acquainted with it could have believed in such a miraculous presence. A shrill sound of laughter and of amused voice of men, women, and children resounded in the street while this wine game lasted. There was little roughness in the sport, and much playfulness. There was a special companionship in it, an observable inclination on the part of every one to join some other one. We sled, especially among the luckier or lighter-hearted, to frolicsome embraces, drinking of heels, shaking of hands, and even joining of hands and dancing, a dozen together. When the wine was gone, fingers, these demonstrations ceased, as suddenly as they had broken out. The man who had left his saw sticking in the firewood he was cutting set it in motion again. The woman who had left on a doorstep the little pot of hot ashes and toes, or in those of her child, returned to it. Men with bare arms, matlocks, and cadaverous faces, who had emerged into the winter light from cellars, moved away, to descend again, and a gloom gathered on the scene that appeared more natural to it than sunshine. The wine was red wine, and had stained the ground of the nearest street in the suburb of Saint-Antoine, in Paris, where it was spilled. It had stained many hands, too, and many faces, and many naked feet, and many wooden shoes, the hands of the man who sawed the wood, left red marks on the billets, and the forehead of the woman who nursed her baby was stained with the stain of the old work she wound about her head again. Those who had been greedy with the staves of the cask had acquired a tigerish smear about the mouth, and one told Jocus a besmirched, his head more out of a long squalid bag of a nightcap than in it, scrawled upon a wall with his finger dipped in muddy Wanley's blood. The time was to come when that wine too would be spilled on the street stones, and when the stain of it would be read upon many there. And now that the cloud settled on St. Antoine, which a momentary gleam had driven from his sacred countenance, the darkness of it was heavy cold. Dirt, sickness, ignorance, and want were the lords in waiting on the samely presensables of great power, all of them. But most especially the last, samples of a people that had undergone a terrible grinding and regrinding in the mill, and certainly not in the fabulous mill which ground old people young, shivered at every corner, passed in and out at every doorway, looked from every window, fluttered in every vestige of a garment at the windshook. The mill which had worked them down was the mill that grinds young people old. The children had ancient faces and grave voices, and upon them, and upon the grown faces, and pawed into every fur of Asian coming up afresh, was this sigh: hunger. It was prevalent everywhere. Hunger was pushed out of the tall houses, in the wretched clothing that hung upon poles and lines. Hunger was passed into them with straw and rag and wood and paper. Sawed off. Hunger stared down from the smokeless chimneys, and started up from the filthy street that had no offal. Among its refuse of anything to eat, hunger was the inscription on the baker's shelves, written in every small loaf of a scanty stuck of bad bread, at the sausage shop, in every dead dog preparation that was offered for sale. Hunger rattled its dry bones among the roasting chestnuts in the turned cylinder. Hunger was shred into atomics in every frothing pouring of ski chips of potato, fried with some reluctant drops of oil. Its abiding place was in all things fitted to it: a narrow winding street, full of offence and stench, with thither narrow winding streets diverging, all peopled by rags and nightcaps, and all smelling of rags and nightcaps, and all visible things with a brooding look upon them that looked a possibility of turning at bay, depressed and thinking that they were, as if fire were not wanting among them, or compressed lips, white with what they suppressed, nor foreheads knitted into the likeness of the gallows rope they mused about enduring, or inflicting. The trade signs and they were almost as many as the shops were, all grim illustrations of want, the butcher and the porkman painted up, only the leanest scrags of meat, the baker, the coarsest of meagre loaves, the people rudely pictured as drinking in the wine shops. To be continued.